Thanks very much, Tim, and thank you for everyone joining this afternoon to hear about Tamboran Resources, which I think is one of the most exciting high-growth companies here in Australia over the next 3 to 5 years. If you go to the next slide, please. Look, starting out with a few highlights on the company. Obviously, energy security as a whole is very topical over the last few months, particularly over the last couple of weeks, with a lot of the gas crisis in the UK and even the government here in Australia really being proactive around addressing the emergence of shortfalls that are anticipated in the next 3 to 5 years. And where we see Tamboran fitting into that thematic is really being a solution to developing very prospective gas resources out of the Beetaloo Basin. Really 4 key elements of our strategy. The first, again, is very topical, is being one of the first net zero developers of gas here in Australia. We have a commitment as a company to be a net zero gas producer when we look at first production as early as 2025. We have a very focused strategy. Again, we're focused in the Beetaloo Basin with 2 primary assets, EP 136 and 161, where we have over 31 TCF of resource potential. This is a significant scale, and really the kind of scale it requires to really move the needle on energy here in Australia. Each of these 2 assets are positioned in an area we call the core Beetaloo. This is an area that I'll talk about a little bit later on. The deepest area of the basin, where in shale, which is where we're focused here, demonstrates the highest quality rocks in all of the basin. And to no surprise, this is where we have a lot of activity occurring this year. And really we anticipate flow test results in this core area of the basin over the next 3 months, where 3 big wells are being drilled by Santos and Origin, and really where our 100% working interest block is centered around EP 136. With success of this drilling, we anticipate Tamboran to be really in the driver's seat as a company to really be the first to develop the Beetaloo Basin as early as 2025. Really the 4th element of our story, if you turn to the next slide, is around the people involved. The people really have 2 key themes around our board and management. The first theme is this is the right people with the right kind of experience. Led by our chairman, Dick Stonebrunner, has a deep understanding of shale development, having founded Petrohawk in the US with one of the prolific shale plays called the Eagle Ford Shale back in early 2008, and ultimately sold Petrohawk to BHP for over $12 billion and shortly thereafter in 2011. Fred Barrett, also on our board, again, pioneer of the shale business. So these guys have the right kind of experience as it relates to, having the knowledge base to really be successful in early stage shale development. The other key theme that you see across all the people on our board management is we've been very successful in, starting out in developing companies that hundreds of millions of dollars of market cap and generating multi-billions of dollars of shareholder wealth over the course of participating in each respective company. And we're looking to do the same here at Tamboran. Next slide. So a little bit about the Beetaloo Basin for everyone not familiar. This is a world-class shale basin. It's a gas potential for significant gas that could get developed in this basin over the next 5 to 10 years. We're talking about multiple TCF of gas potential. The normal size gas developments that you see traditionally onshore in Australia are around hundreds of BCF. So we're looking to develop multiple TCFs of gas. And there's about 30 wells that have been drilled in the basin to date. And what you see along those 30 wells is there's common characteristics as the most prolific, the biggest shale play in the world, and that's been developed in the US, called the Marcellus Shale. So you see a lot of the same characteristics in the Marcellus as you see in the Beetaloo, which really gives us, as being in the center of the basin, a lot of excitement. This is a gas that's very low carbon. This is gas that we've seen with CO2 levels of 2 to 3%. So it really positions the development of net zero gas development by offsetting that 2 to 3% CO2 as we get into development. And there's multiple commercial pathways to market. There's an existing pipeline operated by our partner Gemini that is the only pipeline connecting the Beetaloo Basin to the East Coast gas market. And so that's a pipeline that we're looking to access as it relates to our early aggressive commercialization strategy. If we go to the next slide. So as we zoom down into the basin, just to give a little bit more color around where we operate, again, we have two primary assets, EP161 and EP136. Both of these assets are focused right in the core Beetaloo. You can see the map on the right. This core Beetaloo area is really characterized by being in the deepest, the highest pressure and highest quality shale areas in this whole basin. And so this is why we really like it, is because this area of the basin really has the potential to really produce the first development in the basin. This is where, again, you're seeing a lot of activity, over the next 3 to 6 months. Big companies have taken positions right in the core Beetaloo. Origin, right to the southwest of our EP136 block, is actively drilling right now a well called the 76S2 well. And then right to the north east of our EP136 block are two big horizontal wells that are being drilled by our partner Santos, in which we're a 25% interest holder in, called Tamboran 2H and 3H. We anticipate getting results from both of these wells in the next 90 days. So a lot of catalysts, and really each of these wells, I think, is gonna provide line of sight around early commercialization plans on our EP136 block. If you go to the next slide. Again, a little bit more color around each of our key assets. Again, 31 TCF combined between EP161 and EP136. And the thing I'd like to stress is, over $100 million is going in the ground, and flow test expected in the next 90 days. You can see the 76S2, one well right to the southwest of our EP136 block, where we have 100% working interest. And then two big wells being drilled by Santos, in which we have a 25% working interest, and really sets up a very exciting next 90 days. And it really gives us the opportunity to absorb these learnings and drill our first well on EP136 called Maverick 1 early next year. To go to the next slide. If you look at a cross section of the core Beetaloo, again, just to underscore, this is the deepest part of the basin. It's where the shale play, the main shale play here in the Beetaloo, called the MidValkyrie shale, is the deepest. It's where the depths of the MidValkyrie is 2,000 to 3,000 meters. This is an area, in adopting some of the learnings that we've seen in North America. This is in the depth center, in this deepest areas, where you see the shale, obviously very high pressure and very rich reservoir qualities, which are all the right ingredients that you need to demonstrate very high productivity wells. And you can see our Maverick 1 right in the middle of the action over the next 3 to 6 months. If you go to the next slide. Again, we plan to be the most active driller in the Beetaloo over the next 12 months. We're participating in two wells as we speak. Tamboran 2H has already been drilled. Tamboran 3 is currently drilling, and is planned to be completed in the next 30 days. The Origin well, as I mentioned before, is already drilling to the southwest of us. And with success of these three wells, it really puts us in a great position, being in the center of the activity, to get really active and drill our first well called Maverick 1 in early part of 2022. If you go to the next slide. So our business plan really is a two-phase business plan. Phase one, as I've just described, is 3 horizontal wells that we're planning to drill in the core Beetaloo. The objective of these 3 wells is to confirm commerciality, and then, subject to confirming that commerciality, we'll be moving rapidly to phase 2, where we want to come back on our EP136 block, again, that we own 100% working interest in, and drill 3 additional horizontals. And we look to be at the end of that program in phase 2 to look at a sanction of a pilot development, and we look to book 2P reserves of up to 2 TCF. And again, that positions us to develop in the core Beetaloo as early as 2025. And where we look to supply the Southeast Australia gas market that's hovering over $10 a gigajoule as we speak. Turn to the next slide. So just to characterize kind of the results and this commerciality threshold that we're looking to get over the next 3 to 6 months with our horizontal drilling. You can see on the left part of the slide the vertical wells that have been drilled in the basin today. There's again 95% of the wells that have been drilled in the basin have been vertical wells. There's limited information that you get on commerciality from these vertical well drilling. Really where we're getting really excited is the horizontal drilling that we're seeing on our block with Santos, where we're drilling what I call a horizontal test well. This is a 1,000-meter horizontal where we penetrate into the MidValkyrie B and drill basically sideways into that rich MidValkyrie B section. And we're going to look at the flow test out of that full 1,000 meters of the open section. Again, these flow tests are anticipated in the next 90 days. And really, this test well will guide the development well that we'll look to employ in Maverick 1H. The horizontal wells, again, is the key information that's required in any early stage basin around commerciality. If you go to the next slide, just to finish up. Upon success, one of the key advantages to our company is we have a partnership with Gemini. And this partnership with Gemini really is to work with Gemini in accessing the Northern Gas Pipeline, again, the only pipeline connecting the Beetaloo to the Southeast Australia gas market. And so we'll be leveraging that JV as it relates to delivery of first gas as early as 2025. If you go to the last slide, just in summary, just to wrap up, again, 4 key elements of any successful next generation energy company. One, you have to have a great strategy. We think our commitment to net zero is a winning strategy, especially as it relates to the world consuming clean forms of energy. Have to have great assets. We think our assets centered in the core Beetaloo are the best assets in the basin. Have to have a great commercialization strategy. Our strategy, again, focused on accelerated commercialization with Gemini, I think is a winning strategy. And then third, you have to have the right experience. And I think our board management, with our experience from North America and shale, really position the company to be, one of the more exciting energy companies here in onshore Australia over the next 3 to 5 years.
Thanks, Joel. Time for some questions. We've got quite a few. The government, the Australian government has spoken about the Beetaloo Basin as being a strategic asset, if you like, and it has made government grants to some companies previously. Is this an avenue for Tamboran?
Yeah, absolutely. It's publicly known. We've applied for up to 3 grants with the government scheme, and we're hoping to have response on those and hopefully acceptance on those 3 grants in the next few weeks. So we're very excited to participate in that program. Yeah.
And Joel, you've got a zero emissions target. Does that mean the company becomes more attractive for investors that don't normally look at oil and gas and coal, for example? If you have this emissions target of being zero, does that open you up to be more attractive to institutional investors?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Look, this is, it's a key theme sort of shifting through our industry at the moment around net zero. You have, buyers in Japan. There's 15 LNG buyers that have committed to only buying net zero LNG cargoes by 2050. So we're on, as a company, we recognize the shift and this transition that the world is ongoing around consuming cleaner forms of energy, and we're adapting. And I think that's a key differentiator to our company versus our peers, is that because of the low CO2 element in our gas that we'll be producing in the Beetaloo, it gives us a cost-effective way to offset that gas. And to your point, that makes us very attractive for new investment coming in the company and accelerating the commercialization. And that is, as any early stage company, capital, obviously access to capital is a key piece to it. And so our commitment to net zero, I think, is really facilitates the future capitalization of our company moving forward.
And there's some quite a few questions here. So where do you think natural gas prices should stabilize post the winter season and Nord Stream 2 going online?
Look, I'm not one to project what gas prices might look like in Europe. I think they have a big problem. There's no doubt with lack of supply of new gas in that region of the world. I give credit to the Australian government around trying to be proactive so that we don't end up in a situation like the UK and Europe where there is a gas crisis. And this is where the Australian government has been very proactive in stimulating activity in the Beetaloo so that producing new gas supplies out of this basin don't end up in a situation where you're dealing with gas prices of $10, $20 a gigajoule. The one thing I want to underscore is that the development that we're anticipating in EP 136, our Maverick pilot development, we're looking at producing gas into the market at $5, $6 a gigajoule. So really, we see this aligning with what the government wants is to bring prices of gas down by stimulating new gas supplies, particularly gas supplies that are low on the development cost curve relative, more high cost options in and around the market today, and even looking at LNG imports, from Middle East and Russia, who are, linked to very high gas markets around the world. So we look at ourselves as being part of the solution. And, but come back to your question, I can't project what gas prices will be, but I do know that our commitment to developing low cost, low carbon gas resources is the answer.
And in that regard, there's a question here. Methane emissions in Queensland coal seam gas wells and water ponds is becoming a major issue. Can you avoid these problems altogether? Yeah,
look, CSG is very different than shale. And it's different in a lot of different ways. There's a tremendous amount of water involved when you're, dewatering a coal seam gas well. I know there's a lot of familiarity with that CSG in the Australian investment community because of all the development that's happened today. But the thing I want to underscore is this is very different in shale from CSG. But one of the elements is the amount of water required is a lot less. As far as the methane is concerned, look, methane is a key element to the gas stream. Our job is to not let any of the methane go into the atmosphere. And so, with our strategy around ESG, we're very mindful of ensuring that there's no methane emission and that we take the CO2 out of the gas stream. And, that provides a net zero energy solution. So, again, I just want to make the point, we are very different than CSG. This is shale, and also the economics work a lot differently. So there's, you get the gas a lot quicker in gas wells that will be drilling versus CSG. So it's not only less water intensive, but it's also higher value per well.
Thanks, Charles. We've got time for two more. What do you think about the recent results from Falcon? I think they're a Canadian company, Falcon Oil and Gas, who are out in the Beetaloo Basin. Does that get you excited, those numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a well that I think you're referencing that was drilled back in 2016 called a Mungie Northwest 1. That well did have some mechanical difficulties in the horizontal section, but what Origin and Falcon have been able to do through running a PLT log in the well is demonstrate, back to one of my slides around the horizontal test well, that when you look at the testing of a couple hundred meters of section within that well, it demonstrates out of 1,000 meter horizontal, you could see over 5 million cubic feet a day, and that's well above the commercial threshold that we're anticipating in the core Beetaloo. So given that result, this is very positive for the basin. The one thing I will say is the industry needs to be able to drill, the full 1,000 meters. That's what we're doing with Santos now with the Tamboran 2H and 3H. And then that's really where it swings to our experience, where drilling long horizontal wells is right in our skill set and in our DNA as a company with our board management on effectively drilling horizontal wells from our experience in the US.